Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.
On April 25th, and I'll call the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order. Item number 1 is a rehearing of the Fort Watson Street lots 220 to 226, setbacks and location of building, parking on a parcel. Last time we were here, we already heard both sides presented. We just had to do it the correct way procedurally, so we set it on for tonight to be reheard and to give the public an opportunity to come and speak or hear any more information. So I guess my question for the board is, we don't need to rehear what we already heard at the last meeting, right? This was to give anyone else an opportunity to come in? Okay. So I guess I'll open up this to the public, if there's anyone here to speak on it. And if you do, state your name, speak loudly so we can hear. We are recording, but if you wanted to come up here, that'd be fine too.
Tony Piker, 21 East Ave.
What was your last name again?
Piker, P-I-C-H-E-R-T.
Thank you.
You know, I've had to building permits before. I had an architect draw a plan, take it down to the zoning board and tell you yes or no. Now, I would think that for variance, that would be like if my garage burnt down tomorrow and I wanted to rebuild it where it was, I would more likely have to get a variance because according to today's codes, it's too close to the neighbor's property line. And then this is where something like this would take place, and I'd say, well, I want to put it there because it's been there for 110 years, and I want to put it back there. My neighbor could come and say, well, I don't want it there because it almost caught my house on fire. And that would be for you guys to decide whether or not I can put it there. Now, if I'm going to build something brand new, I take the plans to the zoning board, and they tell me, yeah, I can, or no, I can't. You're too close to the property line, or too close to the street, then I would have to change my plans. And I talked to the code official, and he told me, well, if you don't grant this variance, they'll sue the city and they'll win. Now I'm thinking to myself, how could that be? If you got rules and regulations, we all know we have to follow rules and regulations. So if they're not following the rules and regulations, I don't understand how the city would lose a lawsuit. But on the other hand, if you grant this variance, you're opening yourself up to a bunch of lawsuits. Because anybody can come in after this, and if their piece of property they got, they want to put a building on it, doesn't meet codes, and you say, no, you don't meet codes. And, hey, no. You already threw the code book out and you did this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
John Scoopy, I live at 227 Port Watson, right across the street from the proposed variances. I apologize up front, I'm not familiar how this game is played all the time. But looking at what's going on and the variances being proposed, we've got plenty of gas stations, plenty of food industry and everything in the neighborhood. The biggest thing I see is this variance that you guys likely to accept will have the company, and they're a good company. I've heard nothing bad about Byrne. I just think it's a bad place for it. It's going to involve 24/7, 365. I have commercial property like Rick Carter and Tino, Freddie Papaya, we're all right there, but it's also very residential. Right across my street you know, when this is gonna involve street lights and a lot of expense to taxpayers. Like they're not, that's the other. Traffic's already difficult. So, in my opinion, you know, if there's like Byrne's and Bill Brothers and Redemption Center, Bosie's, they run business hours. It's 9 to 5 stuff. This is going to be 24/7. So it's a lot more traffic, a lot more people, all hours of the night. That's my concern. I think people are all concerned. Thank you.
We're across the street from the proposed project. First of all, just a couple things procedurally. I know this has already been turned down. And it's been brought back for rehearing. Why, I don't quite understand. I don't think there was any written application for it to be brought back on for rehearing. Nor has there been any additional documentation submitted since it was initially heard. So it seems odd how somehow this materialized into a rehearing without anyone asking for it in writing, nor submitting any additional documentation as to why there ought to be a rehearing. Secondarily, I would note that this came on as a special hearing, which again is unusual. Very seldom done. I can't remember the last time there was a special hearing here relative to a ZBA matter. So I think it just raises the specter of why there seems to be special consideration being given here on this particular project, other than what is done in other situations. I don't think in the 40 years that I've been here in the city of Cortland, there's ever been a rehearing on anything. And most particularly, there wouldn't be without someone submitting something in writing saying why there ought to be a rehearing and why it would be different than what was done in the first instance. Now, the project itself. This project is just too large for the lot size and the potential location. And the mere fact that we're looking at the number of variances that are being sought and the significant size of the variances make it self-evident that it's too large for the lot that's being proposed. At the 12/13/21 meeting, the chairman of the ZBA at that time indicated that the variance was significant and approval was denied. This is a self-created hardship. This hardship has been created for the need of these variances by the project that is being proposed. This is their project. They can change the project. They can modify it. They've got plenty of architects, landscape architects, attorneys, all kinds of people that could redesign this to try to eliminate or minimize the variances being sought. This borders a residential area. You're talking about changing significantly what's going on down there in that area. Now, granted, the property next door, even though it's residential, and that is, I guess, going to be raised if this project is permitted. It's in the GB, that's true. But it's also been a residence for as long as anyone can remember. It's a detriment to the surrounding properties in the neighborhood, and the variances sought, the detriment is far greater to the neighborhood than the benefit to the applicant. Again, the applicant can go back and make changes to this. And I would note that they may not. They basically
since this was denied in December, no changes have been made or proposed to try to modify and bring this within, to limit the significance of the variances or the number of them. The traffic, as indicated previously by someone, is a significant problem down there. Now, I know we have a traffic study, but I think if you look at the traffic study indicates that the percentage of increase is fairly quick. And that traffic study doesn't relate to the additional traffic associated with deliveries, garbage pickup, etc. They're talking about simply the number of cars that are anticipated that will be coming here. And the fact that they're saying that there will not be a significant increase, it really belies the project. They're going to be open 24/7. They're going to do advertising. They want sign sizes large. They're going to be doing a significant amount to draw people there, other than simply passerbys. The locations on a corner where the curb cuts are in close proximity to the light that is on Port Watson Street and the stop sign at the corner of Port Watson and this particular property. The train traffic there is bad during the day, and I think anyone that's been down there knows that when the train is there and stops, that'll back up the traffic almost to the Port Watson Street Bridge. And that's where this location is supposed to be. They're going to be open all night, 24/7, 365 days a week. Now you can think that maybe there won't be additional traffic, but it's foolish to even consider that there won't be additional traffic. There's going to be noise. There's going to be noise in the dead of the night, people driving in and out, headlights into the residential area. There's going to be trash. Then you got a trash pickup, which is going to go on at various times. Now, the fact that this is a permitted use doesn't mean that this project has to be permitted. The fact that the use is permitted, not every project is right for every location, even if it's a permitted use. Now, I know Byrne has brought forth the fact that, well, that some variances were granted on a couple locations in fairly close proximity. However, I think you want to look at, when you're trying to analogize that to what's being proposed here, vastly different. First of all, you have CFCU. They're 1.73 acres. This project's just a hair over 1 acre. They're not narrow light. Their curb cuts are significantly distant from lights and stop signs. They do not border on residential. Behind them is Economy Paving. On the other side of them is Walgreens. Now we look at Walgreens. They're 1.5 acres. And again, their curb cuts are not in close proximity to the light or to the corner. Again, they border on commercial. Behind them is Skyline Electric, and on the other side is CFCU. So those projects are not analogous to what is being proposed here. And neither one of them are open 24/7. I think that really is the essence of what the issues are as far as Bill Brothers is concerned on this. And I do want to mention that also there are schools in that plaza on Port Watson Street, which are in fairly close proximity to where this development is being proposed. Thank you.
Chad Horgan, so I have 218 Fort Watson Street, from the multifamily house, and there's a garage back there with an apartment above it. So we're tearing down 220 to put, I guess, the parking lot. And so I'm under no illusions that anything we say here is going to change anything we do. All I'm going to ask is that my apartments with windows on that side, and so when they put up the 12 to 14 foot 24-hour lights in the parking lot, I think that a lot of people are buying the back of dumpsters there, that they don't end up under the windows of these tenants. Otherwise, if I have a tenant who has his kids there on the weekend, small children, and having to leave if there's 24/7 noise. It's not the quietest part of town, it's not the nicest part of town, which is probably willing to do all this to it, so it's going to draw people that hang around at night to a 24-hour place. So I assume some of my tenants will move, and I have good tenants in there that are under more desperate circumstances, not doing options. They're willing to live next to the lights where they have to get blackout curtains to deal with noise. Just here to ask that when you, whatever the plan is that I've never seen, whatever that looks like in their layout, that you consider that after they raise that house and migrate their commercial property into this that residential property, then you try to have them push more to the other side, not just creep right out whatever allowance we have. They just can't creep right up 15 feet from the edge of the property, 16 foot, 24/7. Thank you.
Good evening, Tom Fusel from the West Cortland Sunrooms Council. We requested a re-hearing because the prior disapproval didn't have any rational basis for the actual no votes. The problem all based from the original fact that the county planning board recommended denial. The county planning department's professional staff recommended approval of this, all these variances. They recommended approval of this. They recommended approval of the site plan to the city's planning commission. They recommended approval of the rezone. And it's inexplicable that the actual volunteer planning board then turned around and made a 180-degree change and recommended disapproval of this. The only thing, your role in this is an area variance. It's not a use variance. This is 100% in accordance with the city's master plan. It's exactly the kind of development the city council is looking for in the development of this, what we call gateway area of the city. It's exactly the same kind of variances that the ZBA issued for other developments in that area that the master plan shows as the actual recommended kind of development in that part of the city. Talked about the credit union, talked about the Walgreens. When you drive down, those are very favorable looking developments in that part of the city. What was there on the project's location is an eyesore, it's a nightmare. It's a corner development, so it's not necessarily the same as the other developments. And because it's a corner development, that's the reason that area variances are needed. Not because this is too big for that parcel as has been suggested, but it's two different corner lots. It's treated by the city's front lots. It requires setback. It requires moving the building back. Plus, the gas pumps are in front, parking is in front. So yes, we take that notice. This is going to improve that Port Watson Street area. And there isn't gonna be like spillover, the planning commission already looked into that. There's lighting plans that show there's not gonna be spillover behind the quad. That's the planning commission's job, and that's what they do. Traffic is not a real concern. It's just based upon anecdotal complaints, primarily by people protecting another business in that area. Only one professional has looked at this, and that was GTS, and we heard him the last time we were here, and he said this will not have any notable or significant impact on traffic whatsoever. DOT, he told me, didn't even request a traffic study, but it was so obvious to DOT that this wasn't going to be a significant problem. There will be no undesirable change as a result of traffic. Talking about, the impact it's going to have on other properties in this area. This is a commercial corridor. This corridor is known commercially. And the city council already made that determination. The fact that, there's nearby residential areas, Fort Watson Street itself, these properties are all commercial properties, and the master plan wants to see good development in this area. They don't want to see ad hoc or, bits and pieces of different kinds of development. This is a professional development that's going to look good, that's going to improve that part of the area. As far as, going through the reasons for an area variance, first of all, the benefit can't be obtained by some other alternative method because this is a corner lot, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. The increased setbacks needed, it's not a substantial setback for variances for a modern development on this type of corner lot. It's needed for good traffic in and out, egress. It's needed for parking, and it's needed for pedestrians. So there's no adverse impact on the neighborhood or the district because of that. And you know that because the city has already adopted a master plan looking for this kind of development, and it made this kind of zone. The hardship being self-created, that's not if the city wants things built the way this is going to be built. Regardless, your decision doesn't rest on whether or not this is substantial, self-created hardship. That's just one of the factors. Your job is to weigh all these different factors that the lawyer is going to talk to you about and determine overall whether or not this development deserves this kind of area variance and whether this kind of area variance is going to benefit the city. And we ask you to recognize this is a beneficial development, appropriate to issue this kind of area variance. The job is supposed to be for economic protection or protection of any particular businesses in that area. It's to look at the issues for granting an area variance, and we ask you to do that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
For the future, I think this is a great opportunity to open up past all the time. As one gentleman said,
say, the school across the street, that's a great spot for the students. Lunch break or after school. With the gas station in Cortland, I come through quite late. There's usually not much traffic coming through there. At the late hours, we're not making 1 or 2 cars every 30 minutes. I don't think that would pose a big issue in the surrounding houses. But I think that having it be 24 hours, there's not an opportunity to say someone's leaves town on or needing necessities. There's nowhere in the surrounding area for that neighborhood to sort of go. And I think it's just really premature for us to do.
Is that everyone?
I can't hear.
Great.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. So we'll open it up to the board to discuss this.
First question, I believe that building to override
That would be much
I can't hear anything on
Asian.
here. Try to turn those fans off.
AJ, question.
Yes. I can hear.
Question. To override the planning board's decision, you need a supermajority vote.
Correct. In the first instance. I think that. That's right. So in the first instance, when the planning commission or the board recommended denial, you needed a supermajority to override. For rehearing purposes, today's vote needs to be unanimous.
Just so we're clear, for a rehearing, your code requires that a unanimous vote.
Exactly.
I didn't hear.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
And to be concrete about this, we are not.
Could you state your name?
Anything but building placement with all 5.
Correct. Well, I can't remember what the 5th variance is.
We have building placement parking area, which means you can't park in the front yard, it's full residential, that's never meant for commercial. So every commercial property gets that variance, or else they don't have any, doesn't matter if it's a shack. You have to have that variance. The other ones are placement and setback, and that's it, that's all we're voting on. Correct.
Yeah.
I think that everyone has a copy of their, I think that there wasn't, maybe those weren't provided.
Is there any other discussion? Do we want to get right to the questions?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
what Brett said was really right. This variance isn't for the size of the lot. It has to do with where the parking is on the lot and where the building is on the lot. And most of the issues that were discussed tonight were the subject of the site plan review, where they reviewed traffic, lighting, noise, all of those problems. And they covered it with the DOT and the DEC and soil and water. So that has been gone over what we had 3 meetings, I think. This is simply where the parking happens on the lot, that they want the building to be further back, not closer to the street. For the parking. That's right, it's where the building is, where the parking can be. And in the back.
That's one of them, what is all for?
The other one, well, most of them revolve around that. There is a design standard that says parking can't be in the front yard. That's one of them. But there's another standard that says the building must be between 30 and 40 feet from the street. There's not a single business on that street that meets that criteria. That's between 30 and 40 feet.
The CSU does.
No.
No, they're way back.
They're way further back than 40 feet. They're I think 107 feet. I looked at it. There's not a single one, and I've got some pictures too if you want to see. This is in the area, and I have measured it with satellite software. Anybody wants to look at this? It's clearly not the standard that's on the street now. Buildings are either very close or very far away. Yes, sir.
I've got a real dumb question.
I have to
And if-
interrupt.
I'm sorry.
We closed the public hearing, so we kind of
Yeah,
can't take these.
Okay.
You can explain it to us
yes.
Yeah.
if we have questions. Thank you.
Yeah, the issue is where the building is and where we allow parking.
Right.
In the rear, there is one setback that is 10 feet and they're asking for 7 feet, so that's 3 feet. That's pretty much it.
Well, yeah, we're corner lot, you have 2 front yard setbacks, this is a
Right.
corner lot.
Yeah.
There's one single rear setback, which is a very small relief. But that's, I think that's almost irrelevant. The rear yard setback, parking location, parking in front, every single thing on the house.
So I have a question, do we like kind of go down through and go over our comments, our kind of where we go through it, or we just kind of vote and then
Well,
why we voted that way?
These questions, we go through those. We did last time. So there's the 5-factor test. So we kind of at each question discuss.
Right, we understand.
Yeah, yep. And we like have consensus on an answer. And that's part of where the discussion comes in. But if you also have like a comment or question, just put it out there and we can discuss it. Do you want to do that before or if it's like during while we do the factors? Yeah. Yeah. So will each, like these questions are the same for every area variance that comes in front of us. So anytime there's an area variance, we need to do this test. Which, do you guys want me to start with that? Or do you? So for the 5-factor test, the first factor is whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to the nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance.
I would say no, because it's improving the property from the way it sits right now.
Same here. My comments would be to look at it as in what are the area variances asking for, right? Why are setbacks set in place? Why are they reasons, right? Reasons for setbacks are safety. You don't want buildings too close together, appearances, looks, right? You don't want something looking really weird, looking far back. That's what it's asking for. Parking. To me, it'd be really weird if you put the parking in the back of a gas station and brought the building line all the way up. You wouldn't even know if it was a gas station. So that seems like it'd be an easy one to switch around there. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it with the setbacks, parking, and then the building placement of that. So kind of all the other concerns they brought up, lighting, noise, traffic, 24/7, not really something that we are putting in this category to look. It's not in our power to say yes or no.
Right.
So that's,
So with the next one, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance.
There's no feasible method.
Right. Like, this is what they have to do.
Yeah, I mean, and then possibly, let's say they did, let's say they shrunk their building down really small, they made a couple parking spaces out back. I mean, to me, that's even more of an eyesore than the building that didn't meet the requirements, right, of a building up close to the parking there. And gas stations out behind the building where it's like, oh, I have to pull in, go around this building to out back where you don't know where. Yeah, so it just seems weird to do it the other way.
And I think Kyle is really addressing the question that even though these questions sound like they address the other factors that have been considered by other agencies, we have to answer the questions based on just the things over which we have purview.
Right.
So with respect to the variances being proposed that we address, I agree with Kyle. I mean, there isn't a way to do it other than the variances.
The next factor is whether the requested area variance is substantial. I mean, some of these setbacks are,
Yeah, some of the setbacks are
are big,
substantial.
yeah, they're,
That doesn't,
but, right, this factor is not determinative of the whole.
determine, but
It's
it is,
just
you know,
big, yeah.
so the numbers are substantial.
Yeah, right.
Like a lot of the other buildings on the road.
And that is because the existing code doesn't really collect the usage. It's for a general business, not for
Right.
this specific type of business.
Next one is whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
Well, DEC says no, County
Right.
Soil says no. That's it, no.
And then the final one, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the board, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance. Yeah, they don't have to, right,
They don't have to do the project.
right. All right. Board have any other discussion or a motion or?
So I guess maybe some other comments would be, you know, if something like this does get approved, in the design to be aware of what people are saying. So, you know, make friendly lights that don't shine up bright, you know, and I think it says something in here about that they plan on doing that. It's just, you know, suggestions, not something that we can, you know, enforce or anything, but, you know,
But the lighting study was already done.
Right.
yeah, and so like, yeah, which those designs are based on to be friendly, don't have trash come pick up at 2 a.m. or something like that. So it was just, you know, obviously just be the neighbors, which Byrne area kind of has the history of doing that, I feel like. So I guess those are just gonna be comments on the overall design. Overall design, also being an architect, understanding that you guys could do some renderings or some 3D images of this building on the site to give a better view for everyone to know what it would be like. Some suggestions for the future. Yeah, those kind of things.
For a motion to be made, it's the motion to overturn or uphold our previous decision, not to grant or, I mean, I guess it can be worded, but I think we need to have that wording in our motion.
Maybe if it's helpful, like the language of the code is pretty, I mean, it fleshes it out.
The rehearing part?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote that down, that,
What's the question?
Just,
What's the actual motion have to be? Because I motion to approve as submitted, and that got turned down. So now I believe we have to motion to overturn our previous findings,
correct.
and then somebody would second that and then vote on it, I
Right.
believe.
I think that's how it needs to go.
Is it, what is the language on that?
I mean, essentially what you guys are saying.
And if it's not unanimous, then it doesn't, then our previous
Reverse
Yes.
modifier, no. So we need to, so if I was to do a motion, because I'm holding a piece of paper. I motion that the zoning board of appeals annul its original order from December 2021.
And so by doing that, then there needs to be a second motion to then approve, if that passes, to then approve the variances.
Well,
Or you
the
could just say
annulment
to
would be the
reverse.
approving of the variance.
I think reversing it would be better language.
Or if you're reversing.
I'm not.
Okay, well then let's do that. I motion the zoning board of appeals reverse our December 2021 decision
Which
to
did-
turn down.
Which denied the.
Which denied it. So I need a second.
Thanks, AJ. Anybody else want to see that?
Does everyone understand what?
Just a copy of those.
Can somebody second?
I second
You did it.
Just quietly.
Sorry.
All in favor of that? To-
Aye.
Oh, we'll do a roll call just because.
We gotta do a roll call.
Okay, yeah.
You have to do an individual vote
So
count.
you get to start.
I vote aye. I, Brett Barnes, vote aye.
There we go.
There we go.
I, Abby Cleary, abstain.
I, Kyle Davis, approve.
I, Julie Ray, approve.
Karen Leahy, approve.
Ray Parker approved.
And I'm Maria Manning, also approve. What is that extension? It has to be unanimous. Right, AJ?
Yeah,
Okay,
and there's no nay.
but it's an abstain.
Oh, wait, we have to abstain.
Yeah, I abstain.
Oh. That's pretty good, unanimous vote of all members.
Yeah. The code said it must be a unanimous vote of all members present.
So you abstain is the same as.
Not, it's the same not being here?
No.
It's a no.
He's present.
Can I change my vote?
If the,
I'll approve.
is that okay to do?
It's not my vote. I think that you guys need to determine what.
I mean, I guess we
We
could
could
discuss.
revote.
We could revote, or we can have another discussion. Let's do a revote.
Brett Barnes, vote aye.
Aye.
Kyle Davis, approve.
Julie Ray, approve.
Karen Leahy, aye.
Ray Parker, aye.
Ray Manning, aye. Okay. That concludes that. The motion is approved as it was unanimous by the board. So the requested area variances have been granted.
Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.